Danielle McBride here, brand manager for White's Oats, and today I'm going to present how we've used data and insights to inform our decision to reformulate Toasted Oats. So firstly, if you'll permit me a quick introduction to White's. White's is Ireland's largest oat miller and its principal organic oat miller in the UK and Ireland. A long and established history, White's was founded in 1841 in Tandragee, County Armagh, and we're still milling on the same site today. This year, we're delighted to be celebrating 180 years. An annual turnover of 16 million, we now have 52 employees working for us at our site in Tandragee. White's is also part of the Fane Valley Cooperative Society, also an established and very successful cooperative itself. It's Ireland's, it's the third largest agri-food business in Northern Ireland, established in 1903. And as well as ourselves in oats and breakfast cereal, Fane Valley's other interests include feed compounding, agricultural supplies, red meat, renewable energy, and it's a business that operates right across Europe. Accreditations then, we are BRC Grade AA audited. We're also accredited by the UK Soil Association for organic, and also in more recent times, SEDEX audited as well. So White's has a very successful track record across great taste and quality food awards, and we were delighted in December 2019 to be awarded the UK's best breakfast cereal for our White's Organic Jumbo Oats. Also this year, just there recently, we also were awarded winner of the Best Food Export Marketing at the Ulster Grocer Marketing Awards. And all of these awards are hugely important and significant for us because ultimately it's all around helping us to build our brand on taste and quality. So going back now, or going on to Toasted Oats, and really just to give a little context to the challenge that we faced when we were looking at reformulating Toasted Oats. Toasted Oats it had been established in the market for 10 years, and it was the category leader within the crisp, cluster and granola market. It was a very successful brand. It had won numerous great taste awards over consecutive years and had garnered a very loyal customer base, especially among families. But really what made Toasted Oats different, it really was on three things. So firstly, taste. So the product itself, the composition was unique. It was a hybrid type product, if you like, neither a true crispy nor a crunch. It was favoured for its light and crispy taste over many other of the products within the category. The package in the pack format, it was the first resealable doy pouch, which offered a real unique point of difference in the category. And then in terms of its positioning, we positioned it on a healthier start to families without the compromise on taste. And all of these product attributes gave Toasted Oats its competitive advantage and successful track record in sales. So when we came to reviewing the marketing environment, we used the various both internal and external insights available to us. And these were through various market intelligence reports. And White's recognised there was a growing shift towards natural and healthy products. A report by Data Monitor cited health and wellness as one of the 8 mega trends, with a movement towards natural products in the form of more cleaner labelling. Within government, there was increased scrutiny on health, with the amount of added sugar in cereals being demonised. Indeed, Public Health England published its report on sugar with very clear targets set for 2020. Looking at Mintel's breakfast eating habits report and their global food and drink trends, these were all indicating that consumer attitudes and behaviours towards breakfast cereals was changing as a result of these trends. Consumers were choosing healthier products for their nutritional content, and in particular cereals, which kept them fuller for longer, and naturalness, but not at the expense of taste and enjoyment. And indeed, taste still ranked highly on influencing breakfast choice. At the same time, what we were seeing was the introduction of blue chip brands into this crisp, cluster and granola category, with healthier alternatives attracting new consumers and growing the category. Kantar reported over a 20% growth in the category, driven by increased penetration. So it was more shoppers coming into our category. And using benchmarking analysis and competitor intelligence available to us, we identified that our toasted oat cereals were higher in sugar than our competitive set and therefore no longer meeting our brand values. So how did we respond then to these changes in consumer behaviour and attitudes, armed with all the information that was being made available to us? Well, in 2014, we set about reformulating our award-winning toasted oats range of cereals with the aim of reducing sugar, salt and saturated fat and increasing the fibre and protein content. We recognise, though, that what gave toasted oats its competitive advantage was its product quality. And because of that, it was vital that the reformulation didn't change the overall product recipe. The new recipe had to deliver the same great taste and texture that consumers loved. During our analysis of toasted oats, which also involved research from focus groups run by Millard Brown, the other opportunities were identified and they informed our brand strategy going forward. A pipeline of NPD was developed, which focused on enhancing the nutritional profile of our oat-based breakfast cereals and future-proofing the brand to take advantage of these opportunities that would meet changing consumer needs. But indeed, it was no easy challenge. For us, the challenge on developing a lower sugar product whilst maintaining the same great taste loved by families across Northern Ireland was how could we reduce the sugar without affecting taste and flavour to the point that it became detrimental to the brand's competitive advantage. So the steps that we took and the actions that we took around that, well, overall, we set a target of less than 22.5 grams of total sugars across the range. And that was benchmarked against our nearest competitor, Jordan's Country Crisp. Indeed, that was the closest product match in the category, also being classed as a cluster. But crucially, this would allow us to hit amber on the government's new traffic light labelling. Throughout the reformulation, the consumer was front and centre. Whites held both internal, organoleptic and external taste panels to ensure the taste and texture remained comparable with the current recipe, but with a less sweet note, and that it continued to deliver the taste consumers wanted. Development work began simultaneously on granolas, which would allow further sugar to be taken out and the nutritional profile of White's oat-based cereals enhanced. But of course, like any reformulation, it wasn't without its challenges, and just a few really that we had to tackle. Firstly, reducing the sugar by so much so that the product no longer bound into a cluster and therefore altered what the actual product was. Increasing the percentage of oats, which would alter again the product composition. And cost, controlling costs so we continue to remain competitive against the entrance of rising blue chip brands such as Kellogg's and the rise that we were seeing of private label within the category. So what was the outcome? Well, after all of this was done, White's toasted oats averaged a 20% reduction in sugar, a 15% reduction in saturates, and 50% in salt. We also managed to increase our fibre and protein by 8%. Our front of pack labelling had no red traffic lights, and we met all product quality deliverables using natural ingredients with a shorter clean ingredient declaration with familiar recognisable ingredients. Overall, Whites could claim it had 20% less sugar than the competitor average granola. And through the opportunities highlighted from the initial research carried out on the project, we identified other opportunities as part of our brand strategy, as I mentioned. The development of White's granola, which allowed for the removal of white sugar and to replace that with raw cane sugar. That resulted in a further 26% reduction in sugar and a claim of high fibre to be made on pack. We've also successfully launched a range of organic muesli and more recently, a low sugar granola suitable for vegans, all helping to target new audiences and grow our market share. And according to recent dunnhumby data, Whites now commands 20% of the overall total category sales and 30% share of branded sales across 8 lines versus Jordan's 16% share across 17 lines. Whites is also the #1 selling brand within the category, with 3 products within the top 10 selling SKUs. And Toasted Oats Wild Fruit is the #1 selling branded product within a very competitive category. So overall, a successful outcome. But like any project and any reformulation, we look to see what we could have done better. And for us, a couple of key things were critical and were key. More open and transparent communication with consumers on the changes we had made and why. So initially, shortly after the reformulation, we did receive consumer emails. Thankfully, we were able to manage those very effectively, but certainly that level of transparent communication would have helped. And on-pack labeling, for example, being able to claim the 20% less sugar was identified as one mechanic that we could have used for communicating with the consumer. So thank you for your time today. I'm happy to take any questions at the Q&A session at the end of the session. Thank you very much.